we are back at it on the C10. We have some parts that came in over the holiday break. So Thanksgiving just ended. This stuff showed up about the next day. We're going to get it all installed and get this thing running in its own power. That's the main goal. And then see what we need as far as brakes and everything else goes before we start on the interior and make this thing a little bit nicer. Obviously the outside's going to clean up pretty good. So we're going to keep working on it and let's get to it. All right, this is what we ordered. We have new sending unit, new fuel cap. This came with the tank to get the sending unit to seal. The box was beat up. However, there was lots of foam in the, you know, the parts that could bend. FedEx killed the box, but it looks like the tank's okay. I don't see any major dents or anything crazy. There's a little bit right here. It looks like it took a shot maybe, but that may be a issue with the design. I'm not sure, but looks okay. As long as it doesn't leak fuel, we'll call it a day. We're gonna get the sending unit installed and then get everything hooked back up and hopefully get this thing running soon. All right, this is installing the sending unit in here. And you kind of got to wiggle this a bit and then turn it to get it slide in just correctly. That tab should sit there, and like green just slides around. It goes in, and then get finger tight. I like to take just a crappy screwdriver and just like this, so it's not overly, you know, better pinch on this. Overly tight so you can still access it, get loose if you need to. Make sure that ring seals correctly. And it's sealed. Done. Now, don't do what I just did and install this without thinking about the system you have, because there's two lines and then there's single lines on these C10s. That's clearly a single line, and the one I took out, well, that's a double. Now, I could just cap one end and not worry about it, but I'd rather just put it back how it was. So I ordered the correct one, so we'll have a little delay. All right, don't do like I just did. I installed that single line sending unit, and guess what? Mine's a double. There's two lines there, you can barely see it. This is what came out of the tank that was actually getting fluid up to the front the other day. I don't know how it was getting fluid to the front, because that looks absolutely disgusting. The fact that anything was coming out of there is impressive at all. But anyways, back to the story. Do not do like I did and just install that without thinking, because I ordered the wrong part. So that is a single line. I need a double. Like I said, could cap off the other end and just use the single, but I'd rather put it back like it was. So we're going to still install this tank in, but I will have to swap that out once we get it in. Not a big deal, not the end of the world, but just a little delay. So obviously we will not be getting this thing running today, but we will get it in and then get everything pretty much ready to go. So that's kind of where we're at now. Stupid mistake on my part, but that's what happens sometimes when you're not around something and you order parts and you're not thinking about it. So make sure you think through things, because there are multiple different ways they did things back in the day. Yep, that should do. All right, the new tank is in. All lines are in it with the exception of right here where I made a mistake and didn't order the correct sending unit. So I could make it work, but we're not going to. We're going to fix this. The seal for the gas tank was also back ordered, but I went through a different company and found a different one. It should be here tomorrow. So we should be able to install that still over there with no issues. And then hopefully this thing runs under its own power as soon as we get those two things worked out. Sending unit will probably be here sometime this week, so we'll work on it when we get it. Till then, we're going to continue working on some other stuff. When I tell you this wheel and tire was so stuck that I bent the wheel, which doesn't take a whole lot of force to build a bend a steel wheel, but this is after soaking for about a week. So I finally got it broke loose and hit it just hard enough. I literally bent the lip back on this wheel, probably more than I want to use it. This may be a spare now on both sides of this. I worked it around and back and forth and finally got it free. It was just completely corroded. So that is the last one that needed to get off. We have decent tires all the way around now, except for I gotta figure out why this one leaked down. That's another story. We'll worry about that later. We're still waiting on one part to come in the mail for the sending unit because it's elusive to have a return line apparently on these. Wasn't very common, so they're not very there's only like 3 places that sell them that I saw anyway that were decent and not outrageous. So still waiting on that to come in. So we will probably get this side cleaned up and probably start working out some of these dents. I also need a exterior door handle to be able to open that a little easier than clawing all the way through. We're finally going to open that up, see if there's anything inside. That'll get pulled out, and then I'll show you a little trick for getting some of these dents out. I know y'all can't really see these dents, but they're there, I promise you. It's hard to see with the coloration being different. I need to clean this side and then it'll show up a little bit better. But that's the plan right now. Let's keep working on it, although we are still waiting on parts. All right, we are back amongst the dead over here, all the cars. I don't like to leave stuff over here, just it's easier to back up and turn around with a trailer, so I don't like to leave stuff long. We have tires all the way around now. The bead was just leaking a little bit on this other one, so I put a little bit more air in it. I think I sealed it off this time. We still need to clean this side. I decided to do a couple things while it was decent weather and kind of warm out. So we will get back on this car, and hopefully that sending unit is, it got lost. I'm hoping, it says Monday now. I'm hoping just tomorrow. So I'm hoping it's here tomorrow or Tuesday. We can get this thing in and get it running. The brakes are not stuck, but I don't know how much pedal there is. We'll get to that once I get it running. I've got plenty of yard to drive it to see if the brakes work. Just play it by ear that way. Once I do that, then we will start buttoning up the interior and trying to get some of these trim pieces that we're missing. We'll try to find some of those. Well, it ain't always fun and games. Tonight's the only night I have to really work on anything, and I finally got the sending unit that I've been waiting on with the return. Finally got that in after probably 3 days late from the company that sent it. It is what it is, but tonight's the only night I got to work on stuff. This truck is outside, and as you can probably hear in the roof, it is pouring rain. So I luckily pushed the seat. Let me show you. This is my current setup. Luckily, whoa, apparently the door didn't latch. There we go. Push the seat forward as far as I can, and I am not a small man, but I'm not a large man either. Kind of in between. Anyway, we are going to get this other sending unit out and get the new one in, and hopefully get these lines finished up, and then call it a day on this project. This should run on its own power then. It's pouring, so I'm not going to try to crank it up and open the hood while it's raining, but for now this is what we can get swapped out, and if it stops raining, maybe we'll work on it some more. We also have, that's the original lock knobs. The other side was broken off, so we have chrome ones to replace those. So we may do that too while we're in the cab dry. But that's the goal, is to get this out and the new one in. All right, new sending unit is in. We will tuck all this other stuff up when we finish getting fuel in and everything. We're gonna tuck this wire up, and then I was gonna try to clean these seat belts, but some of them are actually broken, so we'll probably have to replace those. that's another time for another problem. And we also went ahead and got that door lock pin fixed, chrome, and well, it's too dark, and I left that door open because it was fogging up in here. So I'll show you that one later, but yep, they're chrome now. So this is the C10's actual headliner, and it's actually in pretty good shape. The only problem with the headliner is actually this underside. It just got wet, cracked, and made it real delicate. So the material is actually in good shape. So we're gonna repurpose this. Again, going with the budget build, we're gonna repurpose this headliner, and it's only held in by a few staples and then glue. So as long as we don't tear anything, getting these staples out around the edge, we should be able to get a new backing and actually put this on the backing and repurpose this. So we're gonna start by cleaning this off first. Once this is clean, then we will probably try to get it off and figure out a new material to put it on that's thin enough, but also strong enough. All right, as you can see, the black spots are gone with the exception of this one right here, the little one right there, just above my index finger. There's just scattered a few spots, but all in all, I'm pretty happy with how that came out. And yes, I'm using the wagon as a workbench currently, but all in all, I'm happy with how that came out. This material should be reused. You'll never know that it's a original material, or at least somebody's replacement material. Now let's work on flipping this over and getting the skin removed off the cardboard. All right, this is what we were left with after getting that nasty veneer cardboard off. We're left with this felt. The only issues we had is pulled up a little bit here, and then this pulled up a little bit. But we still have a perfect outline for the whole thing. So once we get cardboard, we should be able to glue this down and staple it down, and then get this headliner back in essentially. So we will be reusing this, keeping with the budget build theme. We will be reusing this, and we're gonna throw this away. It's not usable. We're not even gonna use it for a template. We have this for the template, so it doesn't make any sense. So we'll be throwing that away. All right, we are in Lowe's, and this should be just thick enough, and it has a texture on the bottom side for that glue to stick to real nice. So this is probably gonna be our headliner material. Let's see how much it costs. Now that it is not dark and pouring, we are back working on the C10. We have the tank in and good to go. The seat is just not bolted back in, but everything is good back here again. So that's in. And then we have the lines back cooked up over here. So we are going to fire this thing off for the first time and see if it will run under its own tank. I did pre-bleed essentially some of this line because I forgot to flush the lines when I was working on them. So there's gonna be some sediment still in the lines residually. But we're gonna fire it over and see if she will idle and run. running. They only put a few gallons of fuel in it, so I'm not sure if the sending unit's working on the gauge. It looks like the oil pressure gauge is working, and we have pretty good oil pressure. Looks like temp gauge, it hasn't started running long enough to probably see if the temp gauge works, but we will figure that out as well. But it is idling under its own power, as y'all just saw a second ago. And it looks like I had some smoke over there, so I may need a gasket replaced on the exhaust side. That's not coming off the manifold, or it's coming off the manifold at the bottom, it looks like. So we're gonna shut that off and give that a look. We also will have a passenger side handle that I was gifted to replace this. It works, you just have to stick your finger way in there to get it open, so that'll make that look better, and then we'll get these dents pulled and cleaned up. We also went ahead and pulled this headliner material out. Again, this was $12.84 for a full sheet of this. It is pretty thick, but it's the perfect, it matches about what was in there. And yes, it's cardboard, so if it gets wet, it's probably toast, but $12.84. I took the original material already, laid it out. We made us a little template. We're gonna cut this template out, glue it on that, and then we should be good to go back in the headliner of the vehicle. I don't remember if I have essentially the glue to hold it to the ceiling besides the trim, so we may not be installing it today, but for now we'll at least get this done. All right, back board is cut out. Again, it ain't perfect, but it's going to clean up. That foam is kind of forgiving, so some of my little nicks and exaggerations should be perfectly fine. We're going to test fit it real quick, and then we're going to start spraying glue and get this thing worked in, and then let it dry and kind of settle for a while, and then we will put it in the vehicle once we have the correct adhesive, basically. As you can see, the test fit actually worked pretty good. All the edges are nice and tight. We'll pull this back out, glue it, and then stretch it, staple it down, and let it sit for a while and dry up. All right, and just like that, the board is pressed in, glued. This glue takes about an hour to dry. I am having trouble finding my stapler, so we will have to finish the edges later. Not a big deal. But we're gonna let this glue dry, see if it needs any touch-ups, and then we'll glue this edge and staple it down and call it a wrap. I will show you once it's in the vehicle. All right, we'll get this headliner in. It's held together with this trim, so it's a lot of Phillips head screws. We're gonna take those out first and then get this headliner put back in, see what it looks like. I went to pop the trim off, and as you can tell, it is plastic and it broke. So I will probably have to see if they repop this or see if I can fix this, but I don't want to continue breaking it. I'm gonna leave that side on until I can figure out what the deal is, because these clips on the backside are also super fragile plastic, and as you can see, only about 2 of them held up on that. So gonna see if they repop this. It looks like it was already kind of cracked and stressed anyway around some of the joints, so we're gonna have to stop there on the headliner today, but we will get that figured out. All right, that is probably going to be a stopping point for today. It is running and driving under its own power, and it does go into reverse neutral drive, and it takes the gear. I figured out quickly out there that I do not have brakes. The pedal goes to the floor, so that is something we will have to address. Either there's a leak somewhere, or maybe the rubber lines collapsed. I'm not sure, but we will have to address that. And then once we figure that out, we're also going to try to start cleaning up this side, pulling these dents out and stuff. So that will be it for these videos, but it is running under its own power now and going into gear. So we are getting closer and closer to having a roadworthy C10. So stay tuned for more progress. This truck is definitely not going anywhere. We are keeping it. I think I've made that clear. But we're going to hopefully get this thing back going soon and enjoy it cruising.